difficult question. Capitalism means many things to many people. I suppose that going back to the theory of value, and if you go back to the old discussions of capital, going back to Karl Marx, you could think of capitalism primarily as the study of an economy in which the owners of surplus capital try to invest it in a manner, are the key drivers of economic growth or the production of goods and services. And a lot of capitalist production and capitalist system revolves around protecting capital. How do you facilitate the investment, the conversion of surplus value into capital? How do you facilitate the extraction of that surplus value? How do you encourage the reinvestment of that surplus value? The problem is not so much that capitalism has become, the problem is not so much capitalism, but the fact that capitalism has now become capital in the interest of capitalists as opposed to capital in the interest of the real economy. So if you take the United States today, if you take all the work that's been done by Piketty and a number of economists around global inequality, that is what has happened. It's now a question of the owners of capital putting capital to work, but taking as much of the returns of capital as possible to themselves and denying the rest of the economy, basically undervaluing labor and undervaluing the wider society, which is why you have all these low tax regimes, you have all these tax havens, you have a lack of corporate social responsibility. And you then have this situation where nations are getting richer and richer, but the levels of inequality are totally not explainable by any kind of merit, any kind of intelligence, any kind of quality, other than the fact that some people had the privilege of being owners of capital at the beginning. I think the Europe after Weber, I think the whole idea of the Protestant ethic, I think the idea of the British welfare state that happened after the Industrial Revolution as a result of these huge inequalities and poverties. I think we lost that in the 1980s and we haven't regained that. But the truth is the inequalities that we see today globally and within countries, vertically and horizontally, actually mirror the kind of inequalities we had in the immediate post-industrial revolution era and the post-World War I era. And it's no surprise that we're now having a kickback against economics. People are beginning to question where economics has led us to, and the kind of concerns that people had in the 1920s and 30s are the same concerns that people are having today. Is this system optimal? Is it fair? And Mike Carney recently gave the Reith Lectures, BBC, and he raised this question of value and values. Should we, we've privileged GDP growth, per capita income, rates of inflation. Those are, yes, but how about our values? How about fairness? How about justice? How about equity? How about compassion? How about empathy? What kind of values do we have as a people that should then underpin and undergird the capitalism that we have? So you have, in a sense, you can have different types of capitalism, while the fundamental underlying premise is the appropriation, going back to Marx, of surplus value and its investment, and obviously you have what you call the organic composition of capital. You basically increase capital intensity and increase the return on capital. But how do you then, what is the objective of that investment? Is it to maximize the return to the capitalist or to society? How do you measure that? How do you, so that defines your tax regime. Look at Norway, for example. It's a capitalist country, but obviously Norway is a different type of capitalism from the United States of America. And which capitalism should we aim for? I would say Norway gives a much better model than the United States or the United Kingdom. I would say continental Europe gives a better model than the United Kingdom. But that again is a personal view. And I think what is important is to have an open conversation on the ideology. Capitalism can be pushed forward as a value. We're promoting capitalism, but are you promoting capitalism because it raises the vast majority of people out of poverty? Or are you promoting capitalism because it provides an opportunity for a small number of people to make extreme amounts of money at the expense of the rest of society?